everyone, welcome back to the Growth Signal, where we are rethinking the future of customer relationships, how we build them, how we keep them, and how we continue to lead as those expectations rapidly evolve. My name is Alyssa Nolte,
And my name is Roy Osing.
and we are going to have a fantastic conversation. So, Roy, let's get right into it. What is your hot take?
My hot take is really simple and it's different. It's called Be Different or Be Dead. That's the hot take. And the reason that it's extremely relevant here is that relationships begin with organizations declaring a reason why people should believe in them, why people should choose them over their competitors. And it's all about differentiation. And so the genesis of building relationships is really from a strategy point of view, being able to answer the question, why should I do business with you? Why should I believe in you, organization, as opposed to the plethora of other organizations out there? So it begins with that. And it also leads to engagement. So there's really two pieces in the hot take around Be Different or Be Dead. Strategically, how are you different in a way that people care about? And secondly, what's your engagement strategy? Because that comes second. And the reason I emphasize that is, in my experience, most organizations don't have a good strategy of differentiation. They deal with things like, well, we're better, we're best, we're number one, we're the market leader. I call that claptrap, Alyssa. It's meaningless BS, right? And I've created this thing called the only statement that says we're the only ones that we do what we do. And so differentiation is about declaring your unique position in the market in a way people care about, and then going on and creating an engagement process that actually submits to that strategy. And so that's kind of it in a nutshell.
There's something I want to double tap on, and you've said it twice, so I'm going to say it a third time. In a way people care about. Because I hear so many differentiators of all of these things that we're doing differently. But have we ever stopped to ask ourselves, and do our prospective customers actually care that we do it that way? Like, oh, our logo's purple and that's different than our competitors. Do our customers care
Yeah.
that it's purple? No.
Yeah, well, and that's the key thing, okay? Like I call it narcissism. It's the ultimate expression of narcissistic organizations when they declare what they think makes them unique and special, okay? Without actually, as you say, having some sort of resonance in a compelling way with what people care about. And by the way, I use the word care really specifically because relationships are all about emotion. Okay, they're all driven by the feeling that you care about me, that you believe in me, right? That you're there for me. Well, those are basic human instincts and basic human needs, which I got to be honest with you, I think, and I'll use it, most organizations have forgotten about that. It's all gee whiz stuff. It's like, wow, we use AI to improve customer service. Okay, that's bullshit. Sorry, Alyssa, but it is. It's all BS. You got to get back to some basics here. And it's all about how people feel about one another, how people feel about organizations. And that's a huge element of strategy that's missing in action today, in my opinion. And hence my drive, and I've written 7 books on this notion of Be Different or Be Dead. My drive is to try and change the conversation out there away from, like, let's focus on gee whiz technology and products and services, which don't mean anything if they're not wrapped in emotion and caring from an organization. And that's the whole genesis of Be Different or Be Dead.
I love that you're specifically bringing up the point about emotion. There's far too many people who are trying to create rational, logical decision making trees for human beings, and we do not behave rationally or logically. We behave emotionally, and then we come back after the fact in our cognitive dissonance and say, "Oh, I did that because of this logical, rational, reasonable thing." But in reality, it doesn't matter what you're buying, who you are, how long you've worked, or who you report to, or what your title is. You are an emotional human being. There's nothing you can do about it. I also want to double click on your concept about like business narcissism. I think that is one of those mic drop mind blow moments because it's true. We create these things and in our own emotional state think yes, this makes sense. And our customers are going to love this because I built it. And finding a way to separate ourselves from our own centricity of our own worldview is really what's going to keep us relevant and different for our customers.
Well, I mean, it's not about us. It's about them. Okay. And the problem is we've been taught to think that the world is all about us, right? It's like what we do personally, our personal desires, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm not demeaning those. Okay, they're important, but they have their place. There's a process that I've had to create that allows us to get at what we're talking about. Right. And I call it a strategic game planning process that ultimately yields a strategy, right, as to why people should believe in us. And then it's followed up by a whole layer of what does that mean to operations? Because that's the engagement piece. The engagement piece is not the strategy. It's how we operate to yield the outcomes that we're trying to get at. And one of the biggest parts in that process is what I call defining the who are you going to serve? Who are you going to serve is all about choosing the customer groups that have the latent potential to deliver the growth goals that you have. Okay. So it's identifying a small, if you can, because this is not a mass market world, define a small group of customers, right, that actually you believe will help you grow. And then asking a simple question: what do they crave? Not about needs. Needs are basically satisfied. And if you want to play the needs game, you're going to be highly competitive and you're going to be price driven, drive price and margins down. The craving space is all about what do you desire? What do you lust for? What are the things that you covet? That's all about emotion. And people buy on those things. People buy on their desires. People buy on their lusts for things, right? And in my world, that's a space where there's no competition. And you can premium price in that space, right? And if you're able to deliver into cravings, you automatically have earned the right strategically to be able to say we're the only ones that do that. Because quite frankly, they're right. There's not a whole lot of people playing there. And so what gives you the right to earn the trust is a cravings issue. It's not a needs issue. It's not a technology issue. It's none of that stuff. It's not an AI issue. It's none of that tactical stuff that today seems to capture, right, all professionals. And I'll say all because it's true. Young professionals, they're all caught up in the latest stuff. Well, I'm too old and long in the tooth. And I took a startup to 1 billion in annual sales using completely the opposite approach. Right. So I'm here to say those things have their place. Okay. But it's not in terms of deciding what makes you special in a way that people care about. That comes later. So do the hard work up front. What are you only at? You need to be unique in something that's compelling and relevant to the people you choose to serve. What is that? And of course, I had to create my own process to do that when I was leading this internet company because nobody could give me any help because that's not the mind space of most people. These, when I talk about a recruitment strategy around hiring for goosebumps, people, their eyes glaze over because they've never heard that language. And yet, the concept of hiring people with a high emotional quotient to create goosebumps in terms of the customers they serve is so critical to loyalty, so critical to building intimate relationships. They think that FAQs and AI algorithms will do it. Well, I'm sorry, it won't. It may be cool. You may feel good because you can talk AI-ish, and hell, I can do that. That's easy. But to actually make it work in a way that builds relationships, that's a completely different scenario. And so hopefully through conversations like this, Alyssa, we can make a right angle turn. We can get people thinking about the squishy stuff, as a lot of HR people would say. It's not squishy at all. When you buy on emotion, that's hard. That's extremely hard. And yet most organizations don't spend the time in creating an infrastructure that allows the organization to satisfy those cravings. They just don't do it. It's almost like they have a strategy which is narcissistic and then they turn their backs on it and they don't do anything more, right? Well, we all know that delivery of value is the essence of the beginning of relationship from an engagement point of view. And yet it doesn't get a whole lot of attention from most organizations, which is a shame because customers need it. We need it. We need to be emotionally aroused when we do business. I know this sounds crazy, but it's true. And there are some simple ways of doing it, right? That you won't find in any other textbook but this one.
So for our audio listeners, Roy, what is the name of that book that you just
Oh,
held up?
yeah. So it's my seventh book. It's called Be Different or Be Dead: The Audacious, Unheard of Ways I Took a Startup to a Billion in Sales. And it's organized in basic functional lines. So it talks a lot about customer service, a lot about marketing, but the theme through it is all be different or be dead. Differentiate in a way that people care about. Earn the right for people to trust you by being unique in a highly relevant way. And that's the theme. Interesting. A lot of people will say to me, well, yeah, I'm different. I've got red hair and blue toes. I say, I don't give a shit, to be honest. I don't care about that. What I care about is how you're different in a way others care about. And so again, that personal kind of like focus on what makes you different is there. It's there at the organizational level. It's there at the individual level. And and people have said, well, why do you think that is? And I say it's because of the education system that teaches us that sort of thing. And from professors who operate from a theoretical base, right? HR has got a theoretical base. They don't talk about hiring for goosebumps, Alyssa. And yet, hiring for goosebumps is highly critical if you want to build an organization with a serving customer culture. And so
Yeah.
the education system kind of gets in our way. And one of the biggest frustrations I have is to pull people away from that. Like I say, put the textbook down, will you? Let me show you some stuff that really works in a world with red ocean competition, not blue ocean stuff, red ocean stuff, right? And has been proven. I mean, at the end of the day, the reason you should listen to this stuff is it worked building a business to a billion in annual sales. Isn't that worth listening to? But to try and get people out of the textbook momentum track is hugely difficult. And I'm getting old, man. It's wearing on me. It's wearing on me, but I'm not giving up.
So everything you talked about is exactly what we're trying to do with this podcast. Because what I'm noticing in my own conversations and trying to build my own companies and grow my own brands is that everybody I talk to seems to have what I've been calling kind of like main character syndrome, where they are the center of their own universe. They are the center of everything that is happening, and everything is through the lens of their own experiences, preferences, goals, dreams, and hopes. Is this a new phenomenon that we're seeing in the quote unquote age of social media and AI? Or do we like how do we get people to stop being obsessed with their own story and their own product and their own little bubble and become obsessed with their customer's story, their customer's experience, their customer's bubble?
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good question. By the way, I like the way you articulated that. It's a huge problem. Okay, and I don't think there's any silver bullets here. There's no formula that will help people move out of the track that everybody seems to be on, the herd's on. It is herd behavior, which is driven. It's a function of learnings in the past, and what people around them are saying. And people love to be in the herd of quote modern thought. And so, who defines modern thought? Well, the academics generally do that. And so, breaking loose of that and trying to get more practical perspectives, okay, on real world solutions is really difficult. Okay, I think to your point, in my experience, the sort of inward focus has always been there. It's been exacerbated by technology these days. It's been exacerbated by social media, right? It's been exacerbated by technological capability at the tactical level, okay, that people seem to glom on. It's easier to do something in social media rather than understand what is the context within which social media makes sense for me. That's a strategic thing. And people Uh, People don't like to spend a lot of time doing that. Hell, I had to create my own strategic planning process. I call it strategic game planning, which I do with clients. It takes 48 hours, okay, because it is highly centric around execution. I like my part of the be different or be dead thing says, I mean, if you ponder too long, you're going to be dead anyways. So you gotta move. You gotta do just about right planning. You gotta head west. You gotta plan on the run. And so I created this process. Literally, you can do it in 14 or 24 hours, 48 hours, and have a viable strategy that you can start executing and learning from. Okay, that's a complete shift. One of the biggest challenges I have is to explain to people that it works because they're not used to this. They're used to spending, 3 months to develop a strategic plan and having subject matter experts come in and wax eloquently about strategy and theories, and none of that stuff matters. What I do is I get the thought leaders in the business in a room and I literally suck the strategy out of their heads by using my process. And it works, but it's hard to get people to trust that that works. And the one and only ace I've got is I can point to the billion and go, okay, guys, what you're telling me is you don't believe that we actually use this stuff to get to a billion. Isn't that kind of weird? Wouldn't you think 48 hours investment of your time is worth finding out? And of course we do that and the results are, I mean, I'm just so gratified over seeing how some of these business leaders grab this stuff and you can see it, right? Like I can see their pupils dilate over when we nail an only statement for the business. By the way, I just got goosebumps. I just got goosebumps over this stuff because when they get excited about their strategy, they're going to execute it well, right? You just know it. And so, yeah, creating discontinuity in a momentum stream driven by thought leaders in the past and academics is really tough. And that's one of the main challenges you and I have trying to make a difference is to try and break through that. And it's almost like it's a drip, drip, drip theory. You just nail them one at a time. Just keep banging away at it, banging away, and you stick your chin out and you say, "Oh yeah, I got more energy than you, and I got more currency than you, and I've got more results to show than you." Because at the end of the day, it's all about performance. It's not about the thought. Okay, the thought gets you dick. That really doesn't really move the yards. I mean, I wouldn't have got paid any money if I had great ideas and couldn't execute. I mean, the billion didn't come from great ideas. I mean, it came from just about right ideas. It came from imperfect ideas. It came from failing a lot. It came from trying to perfect imperfection a lot. But at the end of the day, it turned the dials. We lit fires in people's guts and they followed and they executed. They did it. I didn't do it. Didn't do it at all. And they loved every inch of progress that we made. I got goosebumps. Every inch of progress that we made.
So there's two things I want to ask you here. First, maybe not ask, but a comment. I'm a big believer in like serendipity, like the world sends a conversation when you when you need to have it. And it's so funny that you were just saying that the great ideas are not good enough. It needs to be a good idea that you actually go execute on. I was just recording a solo episode this morning about how it's time to start taking my business out of what I call stealth mode, where I try to polish and perfect and do everything behind the scenes. And I'm going to open up my business to the world and say, okay, here's the messy crap that I'm dealing with. Here's the peek behind the curtain. Here's the human experience of building a tech and software company. And I was just recording that episode this morning. And I said something to the effect of like, I can have all the big ideas in the world, but if I'm not actually doing it, then it's not even worth talking about. So it's so funny because you said that because we didn't plan that, right? This is something that just kind of
Oh,
happened.
that was
But I want to,
serendipitous.
right? It's that's how you know it's the zeitgeist is coming to fruition. But I do want to ask you, why do you think people would rather spend 3 months building their strategy than 48 because hours? Because I have seen that over and over again. They want to spend 3 months and they want to think about it and they want to polish it and they want to meet for these offsites and it's a whole thing instead of just sitting down and saying we're going to knock it out in 48 hours and we're going to say this is what we're doing. Let's go do it. Let's go do the damn thing.
So it's all about the herd. It's all about the herd. It's safer to be in the crowd. It's safer to be in the herd and apply popular notions. Okay, and I'm going to use the word popular because it really is all about that, right? A standard strategic planning process is acceptable, okay, to most hierarchies. And so when people employ it, they're safe. Okay, they're safe because of that. For them to step out and say, screw that, we're going to do this other thing. I mean, that's highly risky. There's personal currency at play here. And it's hard for people to actually do that. That's why I've always said it's really a leadership issue. If the leader in the organization, right, isn't convinced that this is a better way, then it's hard to happen. I mean, I've tried to encourage people in marketing to just do it for marketing. People do it in sales. In other words, don't wait, right, for leadership acceptance. Be your own leader and do what's right for your function in the business. And that's one way of starting it. But generally speaking, people are risk averse. They love the warmth and the security and the comfort of the herd. And so getting into the breakout is hugely, hugely difficult. It's like if you think about the bell curve and the normal distribution curve, because my background's math, the big glut in the middle of the bell curve, that's the crowd. That's where most people are, right? The extensions of the distribution curve, those are the outliers, right? Those are the people who are willing to take a chance, who are not risk averse. Those are the people that are already stepping out. What we need to do, Alyssa, is we need to get at that bulk of people in the middle. That's personifies the herd, and we need to move them 2 points to the right. That's all. And watch what happens because there's so many of them, right? The impact of actually shifting them in terms of the way we're talking here is huge. It's huge in terms of business. It's huge in terms of personal growth. It's huge in terms of economic stimulation. I mean, it's all of that stuff. It's got macro benefits as well as just micro benefits. And quite frankly, to individuals, it's got huge career benefits. Okay, because once you start performing by doing things differently, you watch the people who want to just grab onto you and who want to recognize you, who wouldn't have done it themselves. But because you did it, right, you took the chance and you were successful and you performed, then it's okay. They'll try and jump on. And that's all right. I don't mind that because at the end of the day, as I said earlier, all that matters is performance. At the end of the day, we're not doing this because it's fun to do. We're not doing it because there's some sort of academic stimulation and hormones that it releases in our bodies. We're doing it because we believe that it has a tight relationship with performance, because that's our job as leaders. If it didn't have, if it wasn't a driver of performance, then we shouldn't be doing it. And I've often asked about the crazy, be different things that we did, like killing dumb rules and cutting the crap and hiring for goosebumps, all that stuff. Why did you do that stuff? It sounds kind of cool. I said, it's got nothing to do with it. In total, they drove a business to $1 billion in annual sales. By the way, that business today is $18 billion a year. Ugh. I mean, seriously? I kind of like to think that my team had something to do with getting the run rate of the top line going on that with simplicity. And I think that's the other thing. We seem to believe that in order to be meaningful, we have to be complex. In order to be right, we have to somehow have this complex algorithm that explains dependent and independent variables in an organization, that we have predictive modeling going on to predict demand. I mean, that's way too complex. And by the way, the people who actually create memorable customer experiences, they don't care about that stuff. That's your thing, right? So that's your element of narcissism. They just want to be helped. Help me get rid of the dumb rules of preventing me from dazzling my customers. Help me. Help clean the inside so the value delivery system viscosity is increased. That's all they care about. And which, of course, leads you to things like that I call leadership by serving around, which is all about how can I help? How can I help? How can I help? And those fundamental things, unfortunately, I find are hard to spot, which I really liked your second question. that you gave me, which segueing myself into the hot seat. But there are a few people out there that actually get it. Not enough at all, but there are a few that get it.
Well, let's do that perfect transition. Then you've set it up. So actually I was gonna go there next. So, we're on the same wavelength here. Thinking of all the people that you know or that you aspire to know, who is doing this right? Who is someone we should be paying attention to?
This is probably going to surprise you, but this woman I've admired for, I don't know, hundreds of years, I think, for the crazy, quirky things that she did, starting with changing her name and learning the music business. Of course, I refer to Lady Gaga. She is the personification of relationship building. And there's a really interesting book out that I would suggest, and it's not a new book. Okay, because I got to be honest with you here. None of the relationship building stuff that works is new stuff, right? It's old stuff because, and this is the beauty of it, it was devoid of technology influence and gee whiz influence. It was just basic human connection. Okay. So Lady Gaga, there's a book written by Jackie Huba called Monster Loyalty. And it's all about Lady Gaga and what she did and the relationship lessons that you can learn from her. And I'm just gonna the stuff that captured me, okay, basically lands into three buckets around relationships. Okay, and the three buckets are find them, find your fans, bond with your fans, engage with your fans. Really simple stuff. On the find them, she talks about the one percenters, which is all about what I talked about earlier about who you want to serve. She's really, really focused, right, on identifying the one percenters that actually make a difference to her and to her business, right? The second piece is bonding with them, and it's as simple as naming them. I mean, the fact that they're called the little monsters is an affectionate term, right? It's like the Grateful Dead, who you probably don't remember. Their fan base were called the Deadheads. You got to have fans name them. Now, I understand it's a music industry, but there's nothing preventing an organization with a little bit of creativity for doing the same thing, right? Right? Maybe I'll call them to be different or be deadheads. Who knows? Maybe that's a
I
good
love that.
idea. Yeah. And the third piece is engaging with them. And she's such a good advocate of social media. Now, there's an example of actually using social media in a way that satisfies her strategic objectives around the one percenters, right? And as she says, be whatever your fans want you to be. Now, there's a statement that destroys narcissism that we talked about earlier. Here's a woman, okay, who was literally like an amoeba. Once she's got her one percenters defined, she will go wherever she has to, be whoever they want her to be to create that emotional bond. Okay. Just a really excellent, simple example of somebody that gets cravings, that gets feelings, that gets that her job is to earn the right to serve her fan base. And this particular book goes into a lot of other aspects of what she does well, right? Like leadership and collaboration and all this stuff. But in terms of relationships, find them, bond with them, engage with them. Simple, easy peasy to talk about. She's by far the most incredible example of somebody who gets it and relentlessly does it. And that's the other thing is consistency, right? It's all very well to act on the flavor of the month for 1 month, and then everybody knows you're lying because in month 2, it all goes back to the way it was. Well, she's an example of somebody that sticks to it, sticks to it, sticks to it, and I love her, and I'd love to meet her. I feel like I know her by just reading about her and watching her, and I can see in her performances, right? I can just see what she's doing. It's magnificent. I got
And
goosebumps again.
if someone is hearing this and, they say to themselves, "You know what? I really wanna be one of those be different or be deadheads." where can they find you online if they're ready to connect with you and engage with you?
If you want to be a be different or be deadhead, I have a website, bedifferentorbedead.com. Come visit me. I've tried to load it up with as many resources as I can. I blog every week. So please subscribe to the blog. I've been blogging since '09. So there's a lot of content there. And what I do is look at the theme doesn't vary. What I do is use different ways to come at the content because people learned in different ways, right? So there's that piece. I now have got a podcast embedded in my homepage, which I was all super excited about. Just I didn't even know you could do this, and I was told I could do it. So I've got my own podcast in addition to working with you. There's a Be Different or Be Dead quiz, okay, which is really fun. So if you want to find out where you sit on the Be Different or Be Dead continuum, are you part of the herd or are you at least starting to think about things differently? There's a quiz you can take and have fun doing it. And all it does is take your answers and then shows you areas where you could focus on if you wanted to do that. Um, I have a page on books. As I said earlier, there's 7 books in the Be Different or Be Dead book series, starting back in '09. And I've written some ebooks and so forth. And the latest one, as I mentioned earlier, The Audacious Unheard of Ways I Took a Startup to a Billion, which is really just kind of an update of all the stuff. It's a how-to guide. It's organized by strategy, careers, marketing, sales, customer service. You can go in at any given point if you wanted some ideas about, well, what did we do in customer service as part of the overall strategy? And you can go in and pick and choose. It's written in punchy language. I had to fire 2 editors, Alyssa, to be honest, because they wanted me to change my voice. These are English 101 majors who actually came back to me with a couple of chapters that I didn't recognize because they changed it so much. So this is Roy Raw. Okay. And yeah, I swear every once in a while. I mean, who cares, right? So that's it. Come and visit me. Please be part of the Be Different or Be Dead journey. Let's make a difference. Come on. The world needs us. The world really needs us to actually practice some of these different approaches and have people realize the benefits of doing so.
Well, thank you, Roy, for a mic drop, goosebump filled conversation. This was an incredible conversation that I know our audience is going to get a ton from.
You're very welcome, and I'm honored to be having invited and to be able to talk to you and your audience today. Alyssa, thank you.